Adrian says, very, very nice. The problem is your revolution seems to only be mental. Furthermore, eating should be raw and no weird cravings for cooked foods. I had hoped a OMAD living food-based lifestyle would keep one young and clear. The problem, Adrian, is that your lack of wisdom seems to allow you to think that there are some things that are not mental. There is nothing that is not mental. Everything that exists as a way of experience with you. What is the difference between a universe that is void of life, with only dead planets, and a universe that, like ours, with at least one planet with life on it, and a universe that doesn't exist at all? Well, the answer is there's only two. There's only life versus non-life, because if you cannot conceive of something, it cannot be an experience, and therefore it cannot be real. So, of course, the OMAD revolution is all mental. It is just the application of an understanding of something. There are no magic foods, which is your second problem here. Eating should be raw and no weird cravings for cooked foods. Let me ask you, how many people do you think who are eating raw look halfway decent? Do they look even halfway healthy? I know of none, except for maybe one or two who claim to be raw, and I really doubt that, but they tend to be the most emaciated, most muscle-lacking, most abnormal people I have ever in my life seen or heard. Their stuff on YouTube, judging by that, is in complete and utter garbage. Add to that, I've of course tried this for years, and I got nothing from it, which is why the OMAD revolution is not about food. Eating steak will not give you eternal life, and eating apples will not give you eternal life. Eating ashwagandha will not give you life. All of these things that I talk about, ultimately, I never call them superfoods. And from a very early point on this channel, I've made that a big deal. There are no superfoods. There's nothing that's going to save you. Emperor Qin Shi Huang was the first emperor of China. He was the one that commissioned the building of the Great Wall and did many great things. He actually made China. Before that, it was the tribe of Qin. But one of his obsessions was for a tonic of life. And he was presented with Reishi mushroom, which is the closest you will get on Earth to a tonic of life. But he wasn't satisfied, so he moved over to mercury. And of course, as you know, mercury, as we know now, mercury is a toxic substance to the human body. His physicians at the time said that he would be immortal if he had it. So he consumed mercury, and within 7 years, he had lost his mind and he was barely able to walk. At the age of 49, he died, shooting his crossbow at invisible fish because he was hallucinating. It was a sad end to a man who did many great things. And that's the way it tends to be when we look at paradise in foods. I know that I've listened to many people. Some of them are very religious, some of them are not religious, and they give me this same form of idealism that you're presenting, Adrian. They're saying, if you just eat a certain way, you'll be perfect. I hear the same thing now from the much more popular carnivores who say that if you just eat ground beef only, or any ruminant animal, that you will not only have no health problems, but you will actually be disease-free and increase your lifespan. And of course, that's not any more true than eating seeds or nuts or anything else. As far as no craving for cooked foods, everybody tends to idealize a craving. Some people say you shouldn't crave sugar. Some people would look down on you, Adrian, for consuming fruits that are raw that are much sugar or mostly sugar. There is no magic substance. The scientists are doing the same thing. They're in laboratories trying to create substances that they say will stop human hunger. They're trying to stop the ghrelin hormone, and you can get pills, so-called pills and so-called shots that suppress your brain's reliance on ghrelin. That's a very Western way to try to deal with cravings. And of course it doesn't work because it's not about the physical body. Ghrelin is just a chemical response. It's not real, like we started out to discuss this. Everything that is real is only in the mind and your perception of it, because ghrelin is not an experience. It's just our term for a reaction that happens in the body. So if you suppress ghrelin, are you going to quit eating? No, because people eat out of all things, All reasons, and all of which are mental. You eat out of boredom, you eat out of stress, you eat to take back the power, and you eat to celebrate. Those are mental reasons. That's the reason people keep coming back to food. That's the reason people keep coming back to alcohol. That's the reason people keep smoking or doing any of the dangerous and worldly things that they do. It's because they lack wisdom. And that's what this is about, which, of course, Adrian, you lack. I had hoped a OMAD living food-based lifestyle would keep one young and clear. Well, there again, you show me a food that restores youth and vitality, I will be sure to consume it. I have tried veganism, I have tried vegetarianism, I have tried various incarnations of low carb, and not a one of them will grant you eternal life. Not a one of them will grant you infinite perfect health, although if you stay with stuff like reishi mushroom, you will do as good as you humanly can. That's why the OMAD revolution has never been about superfoods. And I have made it a point on this channel to call out the trend, fad-based, phony mentality of YouTubers who try to say that if you just eat asparagus or if you just eat wheatgrass, that you're going to be perfectly healthy. You're not going to have any joint problems anymore. You're not going to have any autoimmune diseases. My friend, it doesn't work like that. So regardless of what you think of me or my capacity to reason, you will ultimately be confronted with the same problems that life puts up. There is a word in Chinese, dukkha, and it doesn't mean suffering as much as it means unsatisfactoriness. What you are missing is that in every diet plan, all of the people you rely on to say that raw food is the way to go, in 7 to 10 years, if you look at them, they won't even be on the raw food kick anymore. Same thing with the carnivores. Same thing with the people in the comments section of all of these videos that are so easily watched throughout the day. If you go back and visit some of the earlier channels of fitness, they're not even around anymore. Six-Pack Shortcuts isn't even around anymore. And yet at one point, he was what the world was listening to, and everybody wanted the advice of how to have the ultimate six-pack. So dukkha is unsatisfactoriness. It is the problem that you're not able to see because you're in an idealistic phase of your life, Adrian, where the answer looks very clear. You are the nail, it's the hammer, you've got it. But of course, life moves you away from that. And what remains is dukkha. Dukkha is unsatisfactoriness. Dukkha is seen by every executive in every company worldwide where they say, we want to increase productivity, we want to increase engagement of our members. And how do we do that? There's still this 10% that's not engaged in the workforce. Well, that 10% is dukkha. That's why you end up hiring someone and they end up not working out. Dukkha. That's why someone who goes raw vegan ends up with cancer and dies, despite all of the professed benefits of free cancer. And it's the reason why you see someone who smokes and drinks until they're 100 and they live a long, happy life. Dukkha. Nothing fits into the box that you prepare for it. This, you could say, is God, or the will of God, if you really want to be philosophical about it. Everything in the world, and I do mean everything, is within this box of dukkha, meaning nothing goes the way you want it to go. I can die tomorrow, I can get a disease tomorrow, so can you. But what you're left with is the understanding that suffering is universal, that imperfection is universal. Once you embrace that, something like simple OMAD, as I teach on this channel, makes perfect sense. You can't control all of these variables, but what you can control is when you eat. What you can control is how much you eat, because you understand that the food itself will not bring you happiness, any more than, in your case, raw food will bring you happiness. It won't. It may seem like it does, but it's all a distraction. So the OMAD revolution will continue to stand behind self-control, which is something that is an experience. It's something that you know is real. That's the only way to go. Everything else around you is going to fall apart, including your health, including your body, including everyone you love and know. But the one thing that you can take with you is the knowledge that we're talking about here. The one thing you can take with you is self-control. That's something you can master. And that's what the OMAD revolution is and will always be about.